Hi, Dr. Tammy here. Have you ever wondered if certain foods make you fatter than other foods? Well, the answer to that is absolutely yes. And there is a very interesting blood test that you can do to actually check for that. It's a blood test that we do that checks for something called an IgG response. And you can do food allergy or food sensitivity testing for two different kinds of antibody responses. And when you have this antibody or inflammatory response in the body naturally makes cortisol to respond to that. And cortisol does belly fat, which, we've all heard about on the news and Dr. Oz and all that. So cortisol can definitely put that weight around your midsection. So these certain foods can trigger that IgG response. If you trigger an IgE response, that's an immediate response, happens within minutes. So if you've heard of people having food allergies, that's the IgE response. But the IgG response can take up to 3 days. So you may not even know that the foods you're eating are causing some sort of inflammatory reaction in your body. But the cool thing is that we can do that blood test. This is what it looks like. You can't really see this very well, but in red this is my blood test, and then red are the ones that I'm sensitive to. So things that you might think that are healthy may not be good for you or may be triggering a cortisol response. So like the first one on the list on alphabetical order is almonds and asparagus. You'd think those are healthy. People eat almonds for snacks, but me, that triggers a cortisol response. So knowing that, knowledge is power, which is really, really neat. Gluten is a 3. 3s are worse than 1s, and dairy are 3. So I really try to avoid gluten and dairy as much as possible. And then, when patients ask me, what can I have to eat? I try not to be too restrictive because this is sustainability for the rest of your life. But what I do is like to identify those things that cause the cortisol response. Knowledge is power. So you can either eliminate as much as possible or avoid as much as possible those things that cause the cortisol response. I had a couple come in to see me one time, and he was having a lot of gastrointestinal disturbance, gas, bloating, diarrhea, that kind of thing. So we tested him, and at his follow-up, he was doing really well, and he had lost quite a bit of weight, like 30 pounds. But his wife had gained 20 pounds. So when we checked her food allergies, I thought, something's going on here. We checked her, and at her follow-up, we found out that she had completely opposite foods that she was sensitive to. So when she started cooking separately for the two of them, at the follow-up, she had basically lost 20 pounds, and she was doing much better. So anyway, that was the first time that I really understood the significance of that cortisol response in the foods that you eat. So if you have a lot of gastrointestinal disturbance, gas, bloating, that kind of thing, it's a no-brainer that you should be tested. But, if you are gaining weight, continuing to gain weight, think you're eating healthy, watching your calories, it could be what you're eating. So this is a really, really great test. Insurance doesn't always like to pay for this test. It's a little bit expensive, but I think it's a great investment in your overall health. And for the sustainability and the long haul, knowing what causes the cortisol response in your body is so important. So food allergy testing, something we do in the office. Again, some people ask me food allergy versus food sensitivity. Kind of think of the food allergy as the immediate IgE response and the food sensitivities as the IgG delayed response. But, people use those terms interchangeably. So if you want to get that test, you have to be fasting by about 8 hours. And we have people come in, do the blood test. It takes 3 to 4 weeks to get that back. But it's a great test to have. Really helps us guide what you should be eating or what you should be avoiding. So anyway, food sensitivity testing, very interesting. So y'all have a fabulous week, and thanks for spending time with me.